Miss Purple, the right mind for any time. I created this podcast to raise the awareness of mental illness. If you have any of these symptoms, notify your physician or call 911. Another suicide hotline is nationwide is 988. Thank you. My name is Deborah Sanders, aka Mrs. Purple. My podcast is The Right Mind for Any Time. Born in Akron, Alabama, but raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I have had 30 years of nursing experience in mental health. First, my career started off as a nurse attendant, an LVN, an RN, a BSN RN, and 2 years of graduate school. I have worked in various institutions in Los Angeles County. I work for the federal government, the county, the private sector. Today, I'm going to highlight some things about your insurance and mental illness. Look and see what kind of insurance you're carrying. Most likely, your health insurance is not comprehensive. And what do I mean by comprehensive? It does not cover mental illness. It may cover medical, vision, dental, and optical. Also, when you look into your insurance with your provider, see what hospital is in your neighborhood to provide mental health emergency. If you have insurance like a HMO, if you bring your relative to a regular hospital, that hospital admission department will have to call your HMO and get permission to admit you in that hospital. So your insurance determines on what hospital and where you can go for treatment. But most people don't know that their health insurance does not cover mental illness. And mental illness is very expensive to treat, secondary to cardiac and respiratory. For instance, I was looking at something one time. The lady said they called 911 and she went to the hospital. The ambulance picked up and took her to the hospital. She was on a hold, so she stayed at the hospital 14 days. Her husband had died from depression, so it became overwhelmed to her. When she got out the hospital for the treatment, she looked at the bill. She has the ambulance cost bill for taking her to the hospital. She had another bill that remained in the hospital for 14 days, the hospital bill. Then she got a separate bill from x-ray and lab, because most of the time when you come into the psych unit, you had to have a workup. She said the bill became so enormous, she had never seen a bill like that before, and her insurance did not cover the mental illness. Since I'm a 5150 writer, I come across all kinds of situations in the emergency room where people bring their patient directly from home or ambulance to the emergency room. So when you get to the emergency room and you see the bill department, you present your insurance. Even though you come into a private sector, when you have your insurance at HMO, that patient had to go to an HMO hospital. This is my topic on insurance. The next topic that I'm going into is stress. My name is Deborah Sanders, aka Mrs. Purple, the right mind for any time. And the reason I'm talking about stress today because some outside stimuli or force that make you act different. And let me give my own account. Back in 2013, when I was vacationing in Belize, my significant other, 26 years, died in the same bed I was on. That's nothing but stress. Moving forward to the COVID situation, a lot of people that I'm in contact with or close contact, friends or relatives, they died all of a sudden from COVID. Back in February of 2022 this year, I lost a lot of family members. First, a cousin committed suicide. Another cousin died. He had been on dialysis for 5 years. Then a friend I known ever since I was 14, he died. Later on, my mother passed away all of a sudden. Then my uncle died and my aunt died. They didn't have time to go through the process like Kubler-Ross, the 5 stages of death. Deny, bargaining, accepting, and bargaining with God, anger, denial, and also accepting the illness itself. Stress is how you deal with it, whether you deal with it in the primary, secondary phase, or the third phase. Some people seek out medical, but if you don't have an insurance and want to seek a psych for it, you may not get in it. Talking to a friend or family member may be an optional to deal with stress. But the problem of dealing with stress and who you talk to, it can be stigmatized. Oh, she's crazy. I don't have time to deal with her. Luckily, with all the death that occurred in my family, I'm coming from a mental health background. I had a lot of support system. My friends who nurse practitioner, and then I work with psychiatrists also. The way I deal with stress is I go shopping a lot when I'm stressed out. I try to do something to soothe myself. And that's the end of my topic on stress. Thank you for listening to The Right Mind for Any Time.